Well, mate, before we go any further, one little spot we missed between Sydney and Melbourne, New South Wales and Victoria, is known as Canberra in the ACT. Got that, mate? Canberra. Not Canberra, Canberra. And it's the capital of Oz. That's why it's in the ACT, mate. ACT stands for the Australian Capital Territory. All making sense now, isn't it, mate? Basically, mate, Sydney and Melbourne couldn't agree as to which city should be capital of Australia when we came together in 1901. Eventually, though, mate, in 1911, Canberra came into being as a compromise. They just made it up, mate. And I tell you what, if you want to know the stereotypes about Canberra, then hold on to your seats. It's considered boiling hot in the summer and freezing in the winter. And what's worse, mate, is that since it was a city founded for our national parliament, it's a city full of pollies and public servants, designed by pollies and public servants. So, mate, as you can imagine, it isn't exactly a barrel of laughs. Anyway, mate, that's all you need to know about Canberra and the Canberrians, except that when you're there, you should visit the War Memorial. Right, mate, we're almost there. On to South Australia, which is tucked in the middle of it all. Old SA is a pretty low profile area, and the South Australians themselves are a low profile bunch. They're known for their wines around there, and, those from Adelaide at least, are often considered to have a slightly pommy accent. Not much of a difference, mate, but if you're a dinkum Aussie, you'd be forgiven for thinking that they'd spent some of their time in the mother country. South Australia is also where Coober Pedy can be found. You know, mate, that mad town in the middle of nowhere where people live underground and eat opals for brekkie. Anyway, mate, enough on the crow eaters, as the SAers are also known. Let's get on to the WAers, those who live over west. WA's a bloody huge place, mate. 20 times as big as the mother country for starters. But only 2 million people live there. Perth is the name of the capital city, and it's the most isolated city in the world. Given this, mate, the WAs have a deserved reputation as being very friendly, although to some Australians they're a bit sheltered from the complexities of the modern world due to their isolation. Tell you what though, mate, with its climate and beaches, you won't find many big cities that are better to live in than Perth. In fact, mate, I think we can sum up the Sandgropers, as they're known, by saying they have a name for a breeze. That's right, mate, a breeze. Things move so slowly over there that when a particular breeze comes in from a particular angle, one Sandgroper will nod to another and slowly say, "The doctor's in." That's right, mate, the doctor. Some say it's the highlight of their day. Anyway, mate, that's enough from over west. Let's talk about the territory. The Northern Territory, that is, although that's considered a bit of a mouthful. Like the ACT, the territory is a territory, and not a state. Territorians, as they're known, are considered to be as rough as guts, and I don't think they'd want it any other way. The territory's a wild place, mate, full of the dangerous saltwater crocs, known as salties, and the less dangerous freshwater crocs, known as freshies. And the blokes who live up there exist in a different world to you or I, mate. They order beer by the colour of the can and think of Alice as a town and not a Sheila. You haven't seen Oz if you haven't spent time in the territory, mate. Certainly is an eye-opener. The capital, of course, mate, is Darwin, which is most famous for being devastated by Cyclone Tracy back in '74. It was also bombed by the Japanese in World War II, a time in which many Australians were needlessly killed. Anyway, mate, let's talk about more pleasant things. All we've got left in our little geographical trip around Oz is Tassie, or Tasmania, as it's known to those who like long words. Good old Tassie's right down the bottom of Oz, and is quite sensitive to being left off maps of Australia, as it often is. People from Tasmania are known as Taswegians, or, by some wags, Tasmaniacs. They in turn called people who live in the rest of Australia mainlanders, as they live on the mainland. Perhaps because it's an island, there are quite a few stereotypes about Tassie. The first, which is pretty nasty, is that the Taswegians are all inbred, because they're stuck on the island. And as a result of this, mate, they all have two heads. That's a bit nasty, that stereotype, but the next stereotype isn't, mate, and that's that there's a lot of apples grown in Tassie. It's covered with apples and apple trees. That's why it's called the Apple Isle, mate. Finally, mate, one classic Aussie expression is mappa Tassie, as in show us your mappa Tassie. Won't tell you what it means, mate, because it's a bit rude and you shouldn't use it.
G'day, mate. Good to see your left head again. And you're right. Just pulling your leg, mate. Ah, mate, wouldn't have a spare map with you, would you? Sorry, mate. What's your poison? Mate, you're not in bloody Tassie. The only place I've ever heard handle being used was in the Apple Isle. Those Taswegians love their handles. And their tens, bless 'em.
Anyway, mate, I think that's a survival guide to Australia's geography. Obviously, as you go places though, mate, you can learn more about the local geographical lingo when you're there. But that's not quite it, mate. Finally, I'll let you in on a few geographical phrases that Aussies use to refer to places that, well, don't actually exist.
Cheers, Brucey. You're a good bloke, mate.
Oh, well, we're all good blokes, Jono, aren't we, mate? When push comes to shove, we're all good blokes. But being good blokes won't keep us alive and in with the locals out whoop whoop while on walkabout in the outback. So we'd better grab some fair dinkum tucker and gear. I'll pop off and have a squiz in my kitchen and my bedroom, and you can grab the ute and meet me there. Then we'll be off like a piece of cheese, mate.
Bruce, which way is the outback?
Oh, 'struth, mate. I don't bloody know. You know most Australians wouldn't know the outback from a bloody platypus.
Yeah, well, mate, we have to go somewhere, don't we?
Well, mate, just drive away from the coast for about 8 hours and then we'll see how we're going.
How will we know when we're there?
Mate, you'll know that we're there when you see a sign that says bloody whoop whoop. Now drive. God, bloody whoop whoop, all right. No wonder we all live by the bloody beach.
Well, what do I do?
Oh, just keep driving, mate. One way's as good as another, but there's got to be some bloody thing around here somewhere. And as you may have deduced from that, mate, whoop whoop is somewhere, well, at whoop whoop, in the middle of nowhere. Out back of Burke and past the Black Stump are also places out whoop whoop, mate, so just keep an eye out for those. Burke's actually a town in northwest New South Wales, mate. So far, I haven't come across the Black Stump. Well, not the Black Stump anyway. So, mate, enjoy travelling around Oz, work out what people are saying and where they live, and make sure you don't get stuck out whoop whoop.